Kurzanich's departure from the council comes after two other CEOs, Ken Frazier of Merck and Under Armour's Kevin Plank, also resigned. Interesting to see the three of them make this news yesterday. Amy Holmes, what do you make of these resignations?
Well, I understand that the CEO of Merck, that he said that it was a matter of conscience, and he resigned before that powerful statement by the president yesterday. Right. The Intel CEO, to me, that's a little bit more baffling, that he said he's resigning because of division. To me, that would be the reason why you stay, that you stay on the manufacturing board so that you have the president's ear, so you can bring the country together. But again, I think to your point, particularly say for Under Armour, which is a clothing company, so they have a public image with their customers that they need to protect. That might have been another calculation.
You know, I think we saw this with Google just a week ago. Companies are very worried about their own public image, and they're putting that ahead of national politics.
It's very frustrating, I think, for a lot of Americans who are watching this. And even though the president came out with a very strong statement yesterday, and we're really, really glad about that, I think the Republican Party especially has had to look at this whole situation and say, how do we make sure that we protect our brand? Because this alt-right group, these people who obviously don't respect and don't represent a lot of what the Republican Party actually is, a lot on the left are taking this advantage to try to politicize it and try to say this is who the Republican Party is. And so I think it was, I mean, you saw very, very clearly on Saturday, Senator Orrin Hatch, Senator Marco Rubio, Senator Ben Sasse. I mean, just a list full of names of people that came out and really condemned this. I think it's something politically that Republicans are really going to have to make sure that they're not associated with, especially going into 2018.
Does the president's forceful statement yesterday put an end to the backlash?
No.
Or not?
No. And we saw the protesting last night in front of Trump Tower, and again, it was ironic that they were saying that they were protesting hate by chanting, "New York hates you." Well, first of all, that's not true. That there are plenty of New Yorkers who are Trump supporters and Trump voters, so they don't speak for New York. And that's not how you bring the country together. Look, at Rasmussen Reports, we found that 60% of likely voters believe that this country is a decent place. And though, you know, the protesters in Charlottesville did not represent 99.99% of Americans. So moving forward, I think President Trump has a lot of opportunities to show additional leadership on this. We know that these protesters are planning more of these, hopefully not this ugly, but these types of rallies across the country next month. And again, it's an opportunity for President Trump to show leadership.
Well, of course, Democrats are going to stay after him on this, so this certainly does not put the end of it. And then the other thing is, the president is a combative personality, and if he's attacked, he's going to attack back. You know, I found it very interesting that yesterday, after Frazier stepped off the board, he went out on Twitter and went after Frazier and said, all right, now cut your drug prices. You're going to have more time on your hands.
Yeah, I almost looked at that and thought, well, why is he mixing up the subjects? But
because he's a combative guy, which is why I don't think this just goes away.
It's a good point. I wonder if we're going to see further CEOs follow suit. Like I mentioned earlier, it didn't feel like Kevin Plank was connecting the dots in terms of this is why I'm stepping down. He said nothing about the incident.
These guys are so afraid. They don't want to be anywhere near this issue.
That's
and
a good point,
they don't want to be out there seen as attacking the president, because that could hurt their brands, and they don't want to be on the other side, you know, certainly.
But I would say that there's something really particular to when you say this issue. We're talking about race, and it's one of the most sensitive, volatile issues in America. Look, President Trump, you could say, has been a controversial political figure since he started running, and these gentlemen and women joined the manufacturing board. But when it came to racial violence in Charlottesville, you know, that's maybe a bridge too far.
Is it just grandstanding, though? I mean, you see these CEOs, you know, stepping down. How are they going to actually move the needle on manufacturing, on economic growth, without having a seat at that table, without having a voice for the president? So the whole point of being on the council is mute.
Well, I think that if there was really a sense that they had an influence, right, a real influence in this, and it wasn't just the fact that they were sitting on a council, and that they really saw the ball rolling toward change and toward infrastructure, which we really haven't seen, even though we talked about it so much right after the inauguration. They've got a huge budget bill that they're going to be arguing about right up here leading at the end of September, that they maybe would have made a different political calculation in resigning.
But let's face it, they probably are still going to be wanting to call up General Kelly on the phone.
Right. And they will.
And they will. And they're still going to be calling up, you know, Jared Kushner, who's in charge of his own council when it comes to economics and moving our country forward in that way. So they may be symbolically leaving the manufacturing board, but I don't think that they're going to, cut off access to the White House.
And Maria, you talk about reviving manufacturing. We talk about this all the time. There's what's going on in Washington, and certainly that matters, but there's what's going on in the private sector. And right now, the best thing that's happening for the manufacturing sector in the United States right now is that the dollar has been declining. It's down 8% so far this year. That's going to matter a lot more to Intel and Under Armour sales than some small project you might.
And we know that they have an army of lobbyists who are up on Capitol Hill making sure trade deals and manufacturing legislation is to their advantage.
So they can publicly maybe step aside, but they know that their interests are being represented no matter what.